This lesson right here will focus on how we can set up some very important default properties so that our gun will appear each time we actually drop it down into a level and or summon it. And also, we need the gun to appear properly.
Right.
So we'll make some adjustments so that'll happen as well. So these are two critical things that we need to take care of. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to talk about workflow. Okay, we looked at it a little bit in the last lesson because we kind of kept having to go over and over things. But this time around, I want to get a little bit more serious about keeping things streamlined. Right now, I've got my classes folder open back up under 3D Buzz so I can still get back to my original UC file. I've got my Unreal Tournament system folder up here so that each time the 3dbuzz.u file is created, I can see it in here and delete it if need be. And down here, I've got my trusty command prompt ready to run UCC make and jump back into Unreal Tournament. So what I want to do first is I want to walk through a cycle of changing something so that we can see everything that's involved, and then we can turn around and see how we can simplify that. Does that sound good to you?
Exactly.
Okay, so first of all, let's change something. I'm going to go ahead and come over here into Viper, and let's come down here to our default properties section. And we saw in the last section that I could go in and I could make a pickup message change that would give us something different when we actually picked up our weapon. So I want to go ahead and add it in here and make it something that really kind of stands out. So let's do pickup message equals and big change. Okay, so I just want to do something really big, really stands out. You think that stands out?
Right. This where we're typing this is kind of like the last time we were inside of Unreal Ed and we had that whole dialogue. This default properties section is how you set that from a UC file before you actually go and build this package.
Exactly. So in other words, what he's saying is next time, with this being actually added in here and we're about to compile this into a package again, if you went back into Unreal Ed and selected the Viper and right-clicked and went to its properties, this would be there by default in the default properties dialog box. So let's go ahead and come in here and do a file save. So again, back to workflow. First thing, we make a change to viper.uc, so we've just done that. The second thing that we would need to do is make sure that 3dbuzz.u has been deleted from the system folder. Okay? Now, we know that it's been deleted because at the very end of the last lesson, that's what we did. Then the third thing, so it's kind of three things that we need to do, is we would need to simply come into our command prompt and run UCC make. Okay, so now it's going to start cruising through all the packages. It's going to hit 3D Buzz. It's going to recompile it. You'll notice that, give it a second. There it is, 3dbuzz.u has been created and dumped over here into our system folder. So we've got to keep this in mind the next time we go to compile. Otherwise, it'll skip right over it because it's going to already see that it exists. So now, the final thing we need to do is actually run Unreal with our little test level that we made in the last lesson and verify that we've made that change. Now, at this point, we better expect not to see the gun because we have not gone in there and actually done any of the pickup view mesh properties, player view mesh, etc. So, but what we should see is when we run over where the gun was placed in our level, when we saved it, we should see this big change message, right?
Right.
So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to go ahead and type Unreal Tournament space TST level. Okay? And we're just going to start doing this instead of going into Unreal Ed all the time or going through and actually launching Unreal Tournament through, coming down to the icon or something like that and then changing over to level. This will be a little bit quicker. So I'll go ahead and hit it, and we'll go ahead and run it. All right, so now we're up inside it, and let's go ahead and simply come over here and walk forward. And as I do, watch the bottom of this window. Big change. Okay, so we can see that the process that we just went through was indeed successful. So let's go ahead and jump out of here. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to streamline this whole thing. It's just going to make it a little bit easier, wouldn't you say?
Right.
If we just have it all automated.
Yeah, we need to automate the repetitive steps.
Exactly. So, and the repetitive steps are, we need to delete out that 3dbuzz.u file, we need to run UCC make, and we need to run the Unreal Tournament test level every time. So I'm just going to come in here, my command prompt, inside the Unreal Tournament /system folder, and type edit and umake.bat. Okay, this will bring us inside of Edit, and inside here, all I'm going to do is just list a series of commands that are going to be executed. So the first one's going to be del, good old command for deleting stuff. So del 3dbuzz.u. The next thing that I want to do is ucc make. And then the final thing that I'm going to want to do is going to be Unreal Tournament space test level. Okay? So I would say this here could automate things for us. What do you think?
Definitely.
So let's go ahead and just Alt F, X, and yes, we want to save it. And so now, if we type UMake, it'll automatically delete this guy, recompile, and run our level. So let's go ahead and make a change just so that we can see that that did indeed happen. So I'll come back into my viper.uc file. Let's come down and make this into a small change. There we go. So that should stand out, noticeable. So we'll go ahead and save this and bring it on down to the bottom. And looks like I went in here and opened up 2 of these things again. Got to be careful with that. So let's go ahead and close one of these out. So there we go. And you know what? In fact, instead of minimizing it out, I'll just reopen it every time so I don't, while I'm running my mouth here at 100 miles an hour like I like to do, I won't run into that accident. So let's go ahead and come back up here to our command prompt. And now all I'm going to do is type UMake, hit enter, deletes the file, runs UCC make, and here comes Unreal Tournament with our test level. Okay? So let's just tab on over to it, and let's actually see if we have got the change made. So we'll walk forward again, watch the bottom of the screen, and small change. So now we've got it set up so I can come in here and I can start making changes quickly, and we can jump in and out between compiling, deleting, and all that stuff without a big issue with worrying about forgetting something. So let's come in and exit out of this. Let's come back over here and get busy. So back inside viper.uc. Time to do a few things. The first thing I'm going to do is come down here to my default properties section. Now I'm just going to go ahead and lay in some comments. It's going to help structure where all of my default parameters are going to go. And these comments are going to be laid out in the same order as those rollouts inside of Unreal Ed. Right,
Yep,
Logan?
sounds good.
Okay, so this section right here, actually we'll go ahead and start a little bit above it. So we'll just come on over here, and the first one's going to be collision. The next one's going to be display. Okay, and there's some stuff already up under display, so that's all good. The next one's going to be inventory. And the pickup message is actually something that belongs up under inventory, so I'm going to leave it there. And we'll just go ahead and jump on over one more time. And the last section is going to be weapon. Okay, so now we're going to put some default properties under each of these things related to that particular category. So now let's go ahead and do the most important thing that we're going to need to worry about. And that's going to be up underneath our inventory section. We're going to need the pickup, view mesh, and the other things that allow us to see the gun not only on the floor but in the viewer's or the player's hand, and also seen in third-person mode as well. Right?
Right.
Okay, so let's just go ahead and come back up here. And pickup mesh, let's just push that on down. I'll leave that as being one of my near-in parameters. So let's just go ahead and come across here and type in item name. Now this isn't required right here, is it, Mr. Logan?
No.
It's just giving the item the name, and I kind of want it right here in my parameter section. And as I type in inventory group, go ahead and explain to them what it is.
All right. When you select a weapon in the game, you notice that each weapon has its own little slot on the HUD, and we're just telling it what slot to put this weapon in.
Exactly. All right. Now for some important things. Let's go ahead and come on over here. Pickup, view, mesh, equals, and I'm just going to simply do my package, 3dbuzz dot viper. Be careful when working with these equals. When we're working inside our default properties section, it's very important that we give the information to the compiler exactly the way it's looking for. Now, it's not case sensitive, but if you go in here and start putting spaces with your equals, in this one particular area, it can cause problems, and that can be a headache. So with that, let's go ahead and, so now that this will allow us to actually see it on the floor when we run our level.
Right.
So now let's go ahead and we're going to size it down just a little bit because it's a little bit too big. So we're going to do a pickup, view, scale, and I don't know. Oops. Let's go ahead and set it to, what, 0.65 maybe?
Yeah, sounds good.
And all right, so now we've got that on the floor. We've scaled it down a little bit. The next thing we want to do, I want to be able to see this in my hand. So let's come in here and do a player, view, mesh, equals, and again, same thing, 3dbuzz dot viper. And this is also going to be scaled, and you're going to see If we left it the way it is with a scale of 1, it's going to appear quite big. And not only big, but we got another problem having it at a scale of 1, isn't that? Logan?
Yes, the if your gun gets too large, like significantly out of your player's collision radius, it will actually look like it's sticking through walls.
And to avoid that, we're going to do a player view scale equals 0.2. And that will keep things from sticking into the wall, which would not be good. So let's go ahead and come in here, and we're going to do one more thing. And this is going to be third person mesh. And again, it's going to be equal to my package 3dbuzz.viper. And good idea to scale this down. In fact, it'd be a good idea to scale this down to the same size as my pickup view scale. So when you see players running around with the gun is the same size as the gun that can be found on the ground. Now, while I'm typing this in, Logan, if you want to go ahead and take a second to talk about having 3 different meshes in here, and this could be a reason for all of the scales to be different, etc.
Right. What's possible to do is it's having to say what mesh to use over and over again. That lets you could use different meshes if you wanted to, like make a different model for the gun that's laying on the ground.
Okay.
Or so that way you could adjust the details on them, or separately adjust the scales. You'd have different models to work with.
Right. So and that's generally how it's done.
Right.
I mean, again, this is in this video, doing a weapon can take a lot of time, but we're trying to do everything in front of you, and that means we're going to cut corners as well, as long as you get the idea. So now that we've got these properties set, let's see what we look like at the moment. So I'm going to do a file exit. Yes, I want to save, just so there's no accidental reopening anything up. And then let's just go ahead and come back up here. I'm going to hit my up arrow once just to bring UMake back up. Hit enter and let it go through the whole process for me. So we've got no warnings, no errors, and here comes Unreal Tournament with our test level. And let's just jump on over to it. Fire, and hey, that's kind of good. I see a gun in there. So if I walk forward, I would say it's our gun. It's our mini-me gun. Nah, it's not. Was that about right?
Yeah, that's about right.
So let's go ahead and pick it up. And now let's just simply down 1 to switch over to that weapon. And we've got a couple of things to concern ourselves with. Now it's levitating gun. So there's our gun out in front of us. And also, when we move up here, this is why we made this wall right here into a mirror, so that we can see what our third-person mesh looks like. And that's not too good, is it?
No, it's kind of sticking to his arm.
Yeah. Not the concept we want. So what I want to do at this point is I kind of want to attack that. Yeah, I see you, guy. I want to fix the gun so it looks like he's holding the gun properly, which you're going to see is not going to have much of an effect on the actual first-person gun. He's still going to pretty much stay where he is. Then we're going to come back in here, and I'm going to show you how in-game we can make some adjustments and figure out where the gun should be. So with that, let's go ahead and jump out of Unreal Tournament. Okay, so coming back over here into Viper.uc, what I'm going to do is come up here and focus on my mesh origin, okay, with this exact line, for the mesh the Viper. Now, you can come in here and you can set these numbers. You're going to find that what X does is controls going to and from you, away from you or closer to you. Y is going to control, let me highlight Y, is going to control left and right, and Z is going to control up and down. Okay?
Right.
So let's go ahead, and I've already come up with some preset numbers, and let's type these in. So minus 300, I found to look pretty good, minus 60, and minus 50. All right, so with that, we'll just go ahead and save our changes and come back up here and again run UMake. So much better running UMake than having to go do all that stuff, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
All right, so here we go, back into it. And again, keep in mind, what we're looking for now is just the weapon being positioned properly as far as the third person is concerned. So we'll walk forward, we pick it up, small change. Mouse wheel down, gun still, same place, way out in front, but looking over there in the mirror, look at this. I would say it's looking a whole lot better. Agreed?
Oh, yeah.
So now that it's not sticking underneath and halfway through his arm, now we can go in here and start worrying about actually aligning the weapon in our first-person view. So to do this, we're going to do something kind of nifty here. We're going to simply bring up our console, and from in here, we're going to type edit actor space class equals Viper. Enter. And it's going to bring up my Viper properties dialog box, just like we were working inside of Unreal Ed, huh?
Yes, this is a very nifty little utility here.
This is some cool stuff that's happening. So I'm just going to close this guy down, which does indeed bring focus back here. So I'll Alt-Tab over, and we're not worried about this. So let's go ahead and just move him down for the moment. So I'm going to click up here, and let's come down to our inventory section. And I'm going to simply scroll down here to my Player View Offset. Now, Player View Offset will be something that we're going to be setting back inside of our viper.uc file. But for now, we're going to come in here and make some changes ourselves. Well, our guy is so impatient back there. So, yeah, he's just having too good of a time. All right, so let's come down here to X. Now, there's something that we're going to have to know about these numbers, isn't there?
Right.
They're kind of 100 times larger than the size of the numbers that are going to need to be put back in our .uc file.
Right.
Okay, so let's go ahead, keeping that in mind, working with large numbers. Let's see what happens if I bring this back. So right now it's 3,000. If I typed in 2,000, notice the gun did come back, right? So what if I typed in 400? Hey, it came back a whole lot more. So let's, I don't know, 300? Let's leave it there for a moment. Now let's come down here to Y. So I told you earlier that Y is going to control going left and right. So if I came in here and typed in, let's say 500, whoa, now it's kind of, our guy is reaching over sideways to hold it. If I typed in negative 500, so let's just put a little minus in front of this guy, it better switch over to the other side. Hey, that's kind of nice. So let's change this to what, 350 maybe?
Sounds good.
All right, so right about there. And, of course, with Z, you can probably imagine Z is going to control going up and down, since I kind of gave that away as a hint earlier. Right now it's negative 500, and it's not too bad. But if I went negative 200, and now we're holding it up in the air, negative 800. Now we barely see the top of it. Let's go with minus 400. Okay, so maybe minus 420. Yeah, maybe so. Let's take our X now. And, Logan, what kind of numbers do you want to see?
Maybe something more like 200 there.
Okay. So we'll go with 200. It's going to pull it back even more. Maybe even 150,
140.
Yeah, 150 maybe. That kind of sounds good. Yeah, we don't want to pull back too far. All right, let's see. Anything else maybe? Down some, back more, or... I'm just getting so picky at this point, I know. Let's see what 300 gives us. Nope. 350 is probably going to be nice. Well, maybe 325. Pull it back a little bit more up here, 125. How does that look?
That looks pretty good.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write these numbers down. Or I don't even have to do that. Technically, I could just go ahead and come down and come back into my viper.uc file, and we can add a new section. I want to show you how this works, so I'm just going to kind of, there we go. So you can see our player view offset right there. And again, this is up under inventory, so I'm going to come down to inventory. And since this is, of course, right underneath the player view mesh, I kind of like keeping my code clean and organized, so I'm going to come back up to my player view mesh right here. And I'll do it, we'll do it after scale. It's good enough. So I'm just going to just move on over a little bit and do player view offset. Just like you see up here, okay, equals, open parentheses, again, just like you see up here, but now I need all of my numbers to basically be divided by 100. So we'll just say X equals 1.25, comma, Y equals 3.25, but we've got a problem with Y that we'll talk about in a second, comma, Z equals, what is it, minus 404.2 then. So that looks all pretty good with the exception of one thing, maybe?
The Y is, it's actually negative here.
So it's inverted
right.
when we bring this number back. So if we leave Y the way we've got it now, you're going to see that the gun is not going to be positioned in the proper place. So let's go ahead and come back over here. Put a little minus in front of this like such. Now, if we save this, we need to go back to Unreal Tournament, and we can go and exit out of this. We don't need to keep it up, right?
Right.
We're going to recompile. So we'll come in here. X out. It's going to close everything down for us. And so now with that, let's just go ahead and close this and come back into our command prompt and rerun umake, which will go through and do everything. Okay, so here comes Unreal Tournament. Okay, so far so good. So we'll fire. There we are. Run over here and pick our weapon up. And switch. Check that out. So it's exactly the way we set it up. Using our little actor properties window as kind of a major crutch, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
Otherwise, let's see, Logan, what kind of a headache would it be guessing numbers?
All right, now you see how many times we changed those numbers. What if we had to run UCC make over and over again every time we wanted to change one of those?
Well, that just wouldn't be fun, especially if you're using, that just wouldn't be fun. I don't want to even think about it. I don't even know why I asked. Another thing that we can point out right now is if we look at the bottom in our little inventory, you'll see that slot number 5 is highlighted yellow. Switch weapon number 1, switch weapon number 2, and then number 5. When we told it that our inventory group was set to 5. So we can now. Bottom line is we can now see it on the ground. Okay, and we took care of that with the pickup view mesh, and we also scaled it down just a little bit. We can now see it in our player's hands. Okay, and we set that by the third-person mesh, and we can see it from our point of view. Our player view, and we set that again with the player view mesh, and we scaled it down a little bit there as well too, so that we don't have, say, as I run it all the way up to the wall, it's not sticking through the wall. If I left a scale of 1, it would have been sticking through the wall, which would not have been good. So, and then just a quick recap. What we did is we went back into our .uc file, and we first adjusted the way he's actually holding the gun, as you see there, and we did that by adjusting the mesh origin mesh numbers, okay, X, Y, and Z. And then after that, we just simply ran up, we just ran Unreal Tournament and came in there and used its properties in real time by using the edit actor class equals Vipers command, and we adjusted our numbers and we're ready to go. Okay. Yep. So with all of this out of the way, I guess what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and take about 1 more minute. And as I type these in, Logan, you can feel free to go ahead and talk about them. It's not much left to really do. We're just going to add a few more default properties in there. There will be more default properties added in the next section, but I think it'll be better if we add them there for the simple fact that they will be very related to what we're doing at the moment, and that'll be a lot less confusing. You agree?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so let's go ahead, come in here, we'll exit back out of this. Let's come back over here into Viper and collision. I'm going to go ahead and add some collision, so if you want to talk about this for a minute.
Okay, the way Unreal Tournament does collision detecting with like players or objects is instead of a bounding box, it has a kind of bounding cylinder. And what these numbers do is just define what is the radius of that cylinder and what is the height of that cylinder.
Okay, perfect timing. So make sure I didn't spell anything wrong there. So collision radius equals 24, collision height equals 12. And by the way, you can see this this bounding cylinder, if you will, inside of Unreal Ed. If you go ahead, Logan.
If you in one of your view panels in Unreal Ed, on the little gray title bar, if you right-click on that, go to Actor and then Radii View.
Very good. Another thing that we didn't really point out heavily. I guess we could save this and show it real quick because I want to come in here and do the be no smooth thing. But that is, let's just close this out and come back up here and run it all again. You guys don't mind if we take an extra minute for this? I think it's worth it. Okay, so there it is. So we'll come back over here and let's walk over to our weapon, take a close look at it. All right. There is a very good chance that this is going to be extremely difficult to see at the resolution we're doing.
Right.
So let's go ahead and grab it. And the only thing I can think of is we could, adjust it or, well, you can kind of see it there. Let me get up under one of these lights really good. There you go. Perfect. Notice and I know a tricky way I'll do this. Okay. The top arrow is the one we're looking at. Notice all of these square pixels in here, okay, and all the square pixels up here. Right now, this would be far more pronounced if if we were running full screen, and there's a way that we can smooth this out. So we're going to come in and make an adjustment that will smooth that out for us. So to do that, let's go ahead now and switch back over here and exit out. Come back into our Viper file and back down to our display section up underneath mesh. We're going to put another default property in here called be no smooth. So be no smooth equals
false.
You got it. And this will take care of smoothing that out for us. So with that in there, let's go ahead, just real quick, save this. We'll close it. And let's come down here and run umake again. And again, going through the same process, deleting, running UCC make, running Unreal Tournament, blah, yada, yada. We're inside the game. And so I can fire, and I can switch weapons, and now I can move forward. Well, all right, now it's giving me control back, so let's go ahead and just use it real quick. So let's make sure we got our weapon, and we do. And you can see now, real quick after all that headache, that our texture has indeed been smoothed out by turning that to false. Okay? So with that, I know that was a major headache, but sometimes that happens when trying to run everything that we're running on screen right now. So now that we've got that section done, that pretty much concludes everything that we want to do for setting up our default properties for right now. So with that, that's going to conclude this section. So let's make sure we can actually exit out of here. Now, yeah, now it's going to work fine. Exit, and I have a mouse again. Yay. Okay, so that's it. Thanks.